There are many things that you can do that will help you reach fluency, but there's really only one thing that actually guarantees it. It's a simple rule that we encourage all Mandarin Blueprint members to follow that kind of just takes the pressure off, it prevents burnout, and it keeps your Chinese progress alive even during the toughest periods of your life. A rule that, if you stick to it, guarantees you'll become a fluent speaker. It's called the No 0 Days Rule, and it's all about just keeping you in the game. So learning Chinese, or any language, can be a bit of an emotional roller coaster, to say the least. And the hardest part about language learning is, without a doubt, staying consistent while life happens and all sorts of challenges are thrown at work, relationships, finances, fun, kid, pets, taxes. For most of us, right, language learning is a passion, a hobby. And so when life gets tough and learning starts to get real, maybe it stops being as fun or as novel as it once was, it's so easy just to let the habit fade away along with your dream of fluency. Now, the good news is this is mostly about mindset, and you can switch your mindset to look at things a little differently and avoid going down that path. You see, most learners, including myself, overestimate massively what they can do in a day or a few days, and massively underestimate what they can do in a year or a few years. They create these ambitious study schedules, 2, 3, or more hours of Chinese every morning, flashcards during lunch, conversation practice in the evening. And in week 1, they're motivated. They hit their targets. Week 2, life gets a little busy. They miss a day. Week 3, they miss 3 days. Now they feel guilty. Week 4, they just quit entirely. But if you've ever been through something like this, the problem, in my opinion, is not that you're lazy or you lack willpower. The problem is that when you miss your minimum, let's say 30 minutes a day, you feel like a failure. And that feeling causes you to give up the next day, and eventually you give up entirely. But there's a better approach. So here's the rule. No matter what happens in your life, busy workday, sick kids, travel, exhaustion, you simply make sure that you never have a day where you do absolutely nothing in Chinese. Even if it's just saying one Chinese sentence out loud, reviewing one flashcard, learning one character, talking to an AI in Chinese for 60 seconds, do something in Chinese before you fall asleep. That's it. That's the rule. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Luke, how is one flashcard going to help me speak fluent Chinese? Well, let me explain why this works. So in Atomic Habits, which you may have read, James Clear talks about casting votes for your identity. Right? Every action you take is a vote for the type of person that you want to become or are becoming. So when you complete that one flashcard, you're not just reviewing a word, you're also casting a vote that says, I am someone who learns Chinese every day. And when you skip a day entirely without doing a single thing, you are casting a vote that says Chinese is no longer a priority in my life. Your brain is keeping score. You're always casting votes in one direction or the other, whether you like it or not. And after enough votes in either direction, your identity will shift, whether you like it or not. So there's also a similar concept called keep the water boiling, right? So think about it. If you let water cool down completely, it takes enormous energy to bring it back up to a boil. But if you keep it simmering with just a little heat, that maintains the temperature. Your brain works in a similar way, I've found. So when you maintain daily contact with Chinese, even minimal contact, you're keeping those neural pathways active. The language stays warm, if you like, in your mind. But when you have 0 days, you're letting the water cool completely. It takes a lot more energy to get back to where you were. So let me paint you a picture of how this no 0 days rule might work in real life. So let's say that you've been studying Chinese consistently for 6 months and you have a routine, right? You have 30 minutes every morning, flashcard reviews during lunch, maybe some listening practice in the evening, and then life happened. You have a new baby, for example. Suddenly, your 30-minute morning routine is pretty much impossible to stick to. You're running on 3 hours of sleep sometimes. Chinese feels like the last thing that you can handle. And here's where most people make the fatal mistake. They think, oh, well, do you know what? I can't do my full routine. And so I'll just stop learning Chinese for the next month until things settle down. Now let's imagine 2 paths diverging here. Path 1 is the 0 days approach. You put Chinese completely on the back burner. Don't do any Chinese for weeks. Your skills start to fade. You begin to lose your identity as a Chinese learner, and along with it, your motivation. 1 month turns into 2, which turns into 3. 6 months later, your baby is sitting up and rolling, and you realize that you haven't learned Chinese in half a year. You've forgotten a lot of what you had built up before, the vocabulary, the momentum, the confidence, and now you have to start again almost from scratch. The water went completely cold. Now let's look at path 2, right? The no 0 days approach. So instead, you keep that water boiling, you lower your minimum. Maybe it's just 5 minutes of flashcards while feeding the baby. Maybe it's listening to Chinese audio while you're on your commute. Some days, literally just saying "ni hao" out loud before passing out. You miss your 30-minute minimum for 3 weeks in a row, but you still don't have a 0 day. You do something every day, even if it's tiny, right? So that maintains your identity as someone who learns Chinese. And after a month or two, when you get at least somewhat used to the new sleep schedule, what little sleep you can get, you naturally just get back into it. You become accustomed to finding the gaps in your day. You go from 5 minutes to 15, and then 30, then 45 minutes a day. 6 months down the line, when your baby's sitting up, you've learned 1,000 new words since your baby was born. And a year later after that, you're having smooth conversations in Chinese, and you did it during one of the most busy times in your life. So the difference between these two paths, well, in this second one, the no 0 days approach, you never let that water go completely cold. So how do you implement this? Well, first, decide on your ideal minimum. Put it in your calendar, set alarms, use time blocking, whatever works for you. But here's the key. If you miss that minimum, it's okay. There are minimum viable study routines you can fall back on. In fact, here are 3 levels you could test out. So level 1 minimum is you finish your flashcard reviews and you try to learn at least one new character or word on top of that. Flashcards, if you're doing them, are your highest priority because they help you retain everything that you've been working hard to learn recently. That took energy, right? So we don't want to waste that. Now, level 2 minimum, if you can't handle finishing all your reviews, no worries. Just do as many as you can, even if that's just 1. And the level 3 minimum, if you can't even do 1 flashcard for whatever reason, just say 1 Chinese sentence out loud or listen to 1 minute of audio. And it's a good idea to keep these audio files on your phone. So you can just open up a media player like VLC media player. That's a good one. You just hit play and you listen, maybe even shadow it as well before you finish your day. The whole point is not to beat yourself up, because if you beat yourself up, you're going to miss the next day and then the next day after that. Not having a 0 day is something to be proud of. If life gets crazy, just lower your minimum from, say, 30 to 20 or 15 minutes. And if you don't reach even that lowered minimum, still just don't have a 0 day. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Luke, you keep talking about consistency, but what should I actually be doing during those daily sessions? Well, this is where our BGAI system comes in, right? The build, get, activate, integrate, which I've talked about in about 1 billion videos that I've made, okay? So build is using memory palaces and mnemonics to learn characters and words rapidly. Get is to consume comprehensible input through listening and reading or watching. Activate is practicing speaking through shadowing and retrieval practice. And integrate is making it all stick through consistent daily habits, which is what we're talking about today. So the beautiful thing about the no 0 days rule is it works with any method, but when you combine it with proven techniques like these, the results are extraordinary. And if you want the complete system, click the link in the description for our free course and community where thousands of learners, at this point over 20,000, are learning following this exact same approach. So when I talk about this technique, one big question pops up, which is, what if I do have a 0 day? What if I accidentally, without thinking about it, I go to sleep without doing any Chinese in 1 day? Well, guess what? Draw a line and start again, right? This rule is not about perfection. It's about consistency. So 1 missed day doesn't erase months of progress. Just please try not to miss twice in a row, because that's a new habit and we don't want to form those kind of habits. Remember, language learning isn't just about methods and techniques, it's about identity. So when you follow the no 0 days rule, you're not just learning Chinese, you're sort of committing to becoming someone who learns Chinese. And that identity shift changes everything. You start noticing Chinese around you more, you become curious about Chinese culture, you seek out opportunities to use the language, you invest in better resources because you see yourself as a Chinese learner or a fanatic or even an enthusiast or something else. This is why the rule works even with imperfect methods, because when you truly identify as someone who learns Chinese every day, you naturally gravitate towards better techniques, more practice, deeper engagement. And remember, this is not about becoming fluent in a year or finding some magic bullet. It's just simply about staying in the game. It's about not giving up when life gets hard, because the learners who succeed aren't necessarily the smartest and the most talented, are the ones that invest 6 hours a day. They're the ones who show up consistently, even when they don't feel like it. The no 0 days rule keeps you showing up. And as long as you keep showing up, you will keep making progress. So your next step is building the specific habits that make Chinese an easy and automatic part of your daily life. So click here to watch, and I will see you there.